What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today, I'm here with more book reviews. Let's get started. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna start with a highly anticipated book. I spoke about it in my 10 before the end. The Street. Got this recommendation from Chocolate Covered Pages, and I read it, y'all. I read it. Let's talk about it. Okay, so the main character of this book, first of all, before I even tell you what the book is about, this is a top tier read. I mean, so good. So good. The main character of this book, her name is Ludi Johnson, and she's a black woman living in Harlem, really trying to figure out what she's doing in life. Like, that's not really what it's about, but it's what it made me think about. She's a mom, she's a wife, or was a wife. And I'm not saying I saw myself in her, but a lot of the stuff that she was struggling with, like a lot of those mental struggles, like I feel that, like so much. You want to like give your kids a better life. So what you do, you make sacrifices, you do things you don't want to do, you in situations you don't want to be in, and then it just like stuff happens, you know what I mean? And then like, okay, let me just kind of tell you what the book is about before I tell you what I think about it. Luda Johnson is, again, a black woman who's living in New York, and she's married to this man named Jim, and they have a son, Bub. Okay, Luda get a job because her and her family, they struggling, they living in poverty, so many ups and downs, but the bottom line is that they're very poor. She gets a job working for this rich white family, and it kind of shapes or like changes her perception on life. It kind of shifts the way that she looks at living in America, the way she looks at wealth, the way she looks at like different situations. You know what I mean? She's seeing this white family. She sees like she's there taking care of their kids. She there cooking, cleaning. Mind you, she's leaving her family, her son, her husband to help take care of this family. And I feel like a lot can be said about that right there. Like leaving your responsibilities at home to go do it for another family. Like, and that came up multiple times in this book. Like women working outside of their home at the expense of what and who. And then like when they're younger, like when your kids are younger, when they're older, like what's the trade-off there? And I feel like if you are a working mother, even a black woman in general, and you married, like you have a ministry or whatever it is at home, you can see like the what you do outside of the home kind of taken away from what's in your home. But you need to put food on the table though. You know what I'm saying? So she working hard, giving up time with her family, her son, her husband, and sending her money home. Some stuff happened there and things kind of shift. Ludi's dad, his name is Pop, and he plays kind of a significant role in this as well. So she's dealing with Pop and Pop's girlfriends. She's dealing with Jim, her husband at the time. She's dealing with Bub. And then she makes a life change. Something happens in her life where then Ludi is now living in this part of town. Okay, she's living in Harlem on this certain street, the street. And then it kind of shifts into her trying to claw her way out of, literally fight her way out of the situation that she sees her and Bub in. She wants to save him from the street, that street that she live on. She doesn't want her son to follow in the footsteps of what is expected of black men at that time. She wants better for her son. She wants better for herself. And it seems like her world is almost closing in on her. Like it's getting smaller by the day. And to the point of like, just a lot of stuff happens to end up getting to the last chapter of this book, which things kind of go off the rails at that point. But it was almost a build up over the whole book to the end, which shocked me because I just didn't think that the end was going to end the way it did. But that's neither here nor there. She's dealing with her dad, Pop. She's dealing with Jim. She's dealing with the super in her building, Mr. Jones. She's dealing with her neighbor who the side characters of the book were so interesting because I feel like they all were very, very well developed. They all play a significant role. Like I mentioned, Jim, Pops, Bub, her son, the super, Mr. Jones, but also the women's side characters as well. So you have Mrs. Hedges, who runs is it a brothel? Like a brothel like type spot. You know, I don't know if I'm going to call it a brothel, but she's renting out rooms of her apartment. She's a tenant there, and it's some brothel activities going on. But she is a very interesting character. And then you have Min, the woman that's living with the super. Then you have Mr. Junto, the man that owns like the club in town. Then you have Boots. Just like all the side characters were so well developed and fleshed out and played a significant role that just added to the story so much more. Like, it was so good. I did not see that ending coming. I don't know what I expected from the ending. I'm going to be honest. I have no idea what I expected. But I was heartbroken for Bub. And then the ending just made me hurt even more for Bub. And like, think about like, I wish I could see what the future looks like for, you know, Bub and for Ludi Johnson. And just, it's just so much to be like said and thought about in this book. When you think about like poverty and struggling and the dissonance that has to take place for you to almost make sense or like justify the day in, day out goings of living like this. Like, you really, it was a great book. It was a great book. After I read the book, I went and looked at some like different introductions that was written for other editions, and somebody actually called this book like the what did she say? The woman version of Native Son. I could kind of see like where that was going, where they were like going with that. But when I was reading it, I wasn't thinking about that. Like, I could see where it was going with that. And I mean, I really like Native Son too. So yeah. But this was just, I don't know. It was a social criticism. It was like relatable in a lot of ways. It was shocking. It was reality for Ludi Johnson. I feel like she lived this life. You know what I mean? It was just a hardworking woman, so determined to do whatever it took to try to stop her son from going down what she thought was a broken path, being sucked in by the street that she was living on. Because you think you're making one decision that's going to like better your family, and it end up like somebody always plotting. Like, it ends up being something else. And then like, do you blame yourself? Do you blame the street? Do you blame poverty? Do you blame poverty? Do you blame like what? Like, this was good, y'all. Very, very good book. I want to say like I'm like hesitant. Sorry, I'm sitting on the floor if you see me shifting a lot. I took my chair out of here because that's neither here nor there. But anyways, I took my chair out of here, so I'm sitting on the floor. Anyways, I'm always hesitant to say like, oh, I wish I would have read this earlier, because I feel like it was just the right time for me to read it right now. Like, with the age of my kids and like the different jobs I've had and different things that I've thought, and I've worked with the youthful, I work with like certain demographics and certain jobs that I've had in the past. And and then just like through my lived experiences, I feel like this is a good time for me to read this. Yes, I would have still liked it if I read it 10, 15 years ago, 5 years ago. I still would have liked it. But I just feel like, I was like, dang, look at Ludi and Bub. This was so good. I'm very glad I read it. Very glad I read it. Yeah. This is a book that'll stick with you. It'll stick with you. Take hold, you know? American realism. Yeah. Okay. That's one. That's the first book review, and it's one of those ones like I always imagine this could be my dissonance. I imagine that people will come into my house and they'll just like look over my shelves and just pick ones off that say, hey, can you tell me about this? Or what did you think about this? This is one I want somebody to point to on my shelf and be like, the street and Petrie, what's that about? And then I just go into like trying to convince them to read it and tell them just how much I liked it. But guess what? People come in here, they don't look at my shelves. They will comment on everything but these books. So anyways, that's why I'm sharing it here with y'all. This was great. Amazing. Okay, that's book one. I think I mentioned this second book. It'll be a quick little review. I feel like I've mentioned it in the previous video. This is a book that I read with my son. We have our own book club. This was my pick, Where the Red Fern Grows. I read this when I was younger. This was his first time reading it. I'm going to tell y'all right now. I have read this book before. I've watched the movie plenty of times. I had a chicken pox when I was little. And I was like watching Where the Red Fern Grows and Little House on the Prairie. Why was I watching those when I was in the bed with chicken pox? I don't know. But I was just watching those movies back to back. And this movie always just like made me so emotional. Oh, this time it did too. I was like so like over the top reacting to it. And my son was just like, yeah, it's good. He was not over the fence like I was. But I was so into this. This is about a little boy. His name's Billy. And the story is about, you know how I mentioned Ludi Johnson, she was so determined to try to make the best life for her and her son. Like, determination was at her core. Billy Johnson, this little boy in here, determination is at his core. He is also growing up in poverty in the Ozarks in Oklahoma. They're poor, okay? And all he wants, he sets his mind on getting at the time he wanted one hunting dog. That's all he wanted, but his family couldn't afford it. So he saved for literally 2+ years to save enough money to be able to get his dog. And he ended up getting 2 of them. 2 little teeny tiny dogs, Lil Ann and Dan and Old Dan. Old Dan and Lil Ann. And it's just like a beautiful story of like a little boy learning some responsibility and being a man in his word, a little boy in his word, and having this just deep relationship with these dogs. Like the relationship was so beautiful. The dogs had a relationship with each other. Then they had a relationship with him. The town got to see it. His sisters got to see it. His mama and daddy was able to like look at their son and be proud. His granddad was so like proud and involved, and you just got to see these little dogs like they was the underdogs, you know. They was little runts, little dogs that everybody was like laughing at them. They was little. He trained them up. Okay, they was the best of the best. Then tragedy strikes, and you just got to see that. But I was so glad to read this with my son. And then we watched the movie. He said he liked it. He said he gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So to me, that's a win. You know, I was very excited to read this. So good. So good. Then, you know, he has a dog. He didn't have to work. He didn't have to work for his dog like Billy had to work for it, you know. But yeah, so good. So good. Did y'all read this when you was little? Okay. Those 2. Moving on. All right, we have Dopesick, Dealers, Doctors, and a Drug Company That Addicted America by Beth Macy. This is another book that was in my 10 for 10. I finished it, and let's talk about it. This book basically follows the opioid crisis. It talks about the racial implications and kind of like the racial segregation almost of how it's perceived in the media, how it's perceived in like political spaces. It talks about kind of like the trajectory of opioids. It really heavily talks about the introduction of Oxycontin in 1996 by this family named the Sacklers. So the Sackler family and their pharmaceutical company, Purdue Pharma. How they like, I mean, what's new? Like, I was reading this, it was heartbreaking when you really think about the actual people that's being impacted by these practices. But like, what's new? These companies, they care about money. They bottom line. They were misleading, talking about how Oxycontin was not addictive, like at all. For the longest, they were saying it wasn't addictive at all. It had no addictive qualities at all. Then they were saying, it's, small, very negligent in what they were producing. Like the facts wasn't facts. It was based on pure greed and them trying to line their pockets, paying these companies, sending them like literally off the record, enticing them to actually prescribe them. They were sending like tiny, tiny towns with tiny, tiny pharmacies, little teeny clinics, millions of Oxycontin to be able to like produce and push on the street. That led people to heroin. It led people to all kind of other stuff. And then it was almost the basis to the opioid crisis that we've seen over the past couple of decades. It has like personal accounts of some people's names are changed, but it has personal accounts of people who directly were involved in it, people that have lost their kids, their families, pregnant women, like so many things. And when you think about it, like it's heartbreaking because I always come back to this point when I think about books like this or when I read them, like for money, like it's like you that greedy. They like I feel like to them it's just you're not even people at a certain point. It's like we just gonna get this money. Who cares? Like if they abuse it, they abuse it. We gonna entice you to do so because we pushing them out. Okay, you got a headache? Here's 60 Oxycontin. You got this? Here's this. Here's that. Like pushing them out. So yeah, very sad. It was a lot of good research done for this. A lot I didn't know. I had no idea who the Sacklers were. I knew about, like I've read books about the opioid crisis before, but either I don't remember knowing about the Sacklers. I have heard Purdue Pharma being mentioned, but I don't think I had like a really good idea of the consequences that they faced or like the legal battle that they had to go into, restitution that they had to pay. I didn't think I learned about any of that in previous books that I looked up. And I do know there's like, well, look, there's an original Hulu series about this called Dopesick. So I haven't looked at it, but I want to. Yeah, man, like, yeah, I am glad that she brought up like how things are seen differently based on where the addiction is taking place. So like is it Woodstock? Is it this little rural community? Is it middle class America? Is it black middle class? Is it inner city poverty? Is it like what is it? And that's gonna kind of shape how it's seen from a political point of view, how it's seen socially. It talked a lot about the parents that I don't want to say they were in denial. They just didn't know. It wasn't even at the point that they were talking about in this book. I can't even say like the parents were in denial. They just didn't know like what was going on or like the pipeline. Like they thought, I think at one point, a lot of people probably thought like pills was like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like a hard drug. So when they kids was like taking Oxycontin, they were just like, oh, they going to a farm party, passing out bowls of pills, like at least they ain't shooting up. Then you find a box of needles in their closet, like sandwiched in between blankets or something. Then you're so in shock because to you it was just pills, and it just it's sad. Yeah, this I just get so disgusted with like greed is out of control. Yeah. I feel the same way about all of these types of books. So this when I read Bad Blood, like people really don't care about the human lives that they're impacting, about generations that they're impacting. They like, how can I run this checkup real quick? So yeah, that was a good book. It's gonna infuriate you if you're anything like me, but also it's nothing new. It was interesting information, but the concept's not new. These companies will suck a community dry. They don't care about your family. They don't care about anything. They just like consume this so we can get paid. Yeah. Fourth book, y'all. This is a good one. This is a good one. This is the last review of this video. Thank y'all for sticking with me. I did mention earlier that people do not come in here and just be like, tell me about your books. So I love that I'm able to come on here and share with y'all. And y'all really like want to talk about the books. Appreciate it. Fourth book, Black No More by George Scholar. I was saying his name Schooler the whole time and it's Scholar. Okay, anyways. This book, the main character's name is Max Disher. And this is in the early 1930s. And Max Disher is a black man. He runs into this company called Black No More, who literally can turn black people white. Okay? This company turns black people white. There's some kind of chemical forced medical process where they can almost chemically induce a certain type of vitiligo, like a certain type that also changes your hair texture, color, changes your features. Like, it's insane. And it's cheap. Like, it's cheap-ish for you being able to permanently turn white. The thing is, if you're pregnant and you have a kid, your kid can't turn white, but you can have a procedure done on a kid and they can be white in 24 hours. Okay. So the whole book is this man, Max, want to be white so bad because he wants this woman. She white. He want a different life. He want access. He want this. He want that. So he first in line. He said, make me white today. As soon as y'all start doing these trials, I want to be white. And you just follow the story of these people who are black no more. This is full of satire. It's satire, it's witty, it's funny, it's unbelievable, it's ironic. The irony in this is crazy because like there's a kind of a twist or a shift that happens in the book. It's insane to think like y'all did all that. Obviously, there's pushback. White people like, wait a minute, hold on. You can't be black. Okay, so that's on the surface. When you really get down to it, it also raises a question like, what would you do if you had the opportunity to be white, what would you do? And if you're white and you had the opportunity to do something else, what would you do? If you were proud to be black, but you had this opportunity that you thought gave you access, this, that, what would you do? If you wanted to run for office, what would you do? If you wanted to move to a certain part of America, what would you do? It shows that in different ways, in different capacities. If you were white, and then you don't know who's black or white at this point, you think, what do you do? Like, what would you do? Very interesting book. I think what I like most is like the writing style. I like satire when it's done well. I like irony when it's done well. This was done well. This was good. This was good. And it really like raises the question of what would you do? What would you do? Would you see it as an opportunity? Or would you be like, no? Very interesting. Then you think about the people that's administering it. What's their motive? Why do you have a company that can make you black no more? Is it, like I just mentioned in the last book, is it purely monetary? Is it for your financial gain only? Do you have another motive? Like, why do you have this company? Like, what is it? Yeah, how does that affect other industries? How does that affect the government? How does that affect policies? And then too much of something can end up being something else. So it's so much with this. And I feel like the whole time I was reading it, I was very engaged. There was one little part in the middle, I kind of marked it. So at page like 66 to like 70. So like chapter 5, 6-ish, it dragged a little bit just because of this one. It's a little, you might love it. It was one little part in there. I was like, okay. Other than that, I was very engaged. I thought it was an interesting story. It was very unique. And again, the irony and satire just made me like giggle while I was reading it. Like, wow, that's insane. That's insane. So yeah, that's that. Book 4. It's just for today. 4 book reviews, y'all. All great. Oh, it feels good when you read some bangers. Like, it just brings you back to like why you read in the first place. It feels good. It feels good to have back to back to back to back to back good books. It feels good. I'm very satisfied. I wanted to talk about these so I could put them on my shelf in hopes that somebody would be like, oh, what's that about? They're not. But you never know. Let me know if you read any of these, what you think. And I'm going to see you on the next one.